Okay, it's been a while, and I finally got around to watching the Colonel Kurtz video. I had to watch it a couple times, and I'll tell you right now, I just watched the first one. I wanted to do a video for each different one because I have a lot to say. If I watched all 3 or 4 videos, the video would just be like 2 hours long. So I just want to make a couple short and sweet videos. So her first video, I found it very, it wasn't informative, but it was a very passive one, I'll say. She didn't bring up too much about the Mariyln Manson cases. I believe in parts 2 and 3 she brings more up, but she just kept kind of like a neutral kind of vibe with it. And I took some notes too, so it wouldn't be too scatterbrained. One of the things I really like that she said is that Mariyln Manson is edgy, so when you're edgy, you kind of attract that energy back. So if you're, being crazy on stage and just saying wild things, you're going to attract crazy and wild people, right? And that was one thing I kind of liked that she brought up, because I haven't really thought of that. I kind of thought that like opposites attract, and I don't know, it kind of sounds weird but saying this out loud, but a lot of the people that Mariyln Manson has dated, like publicly, they look pretty clean. But we don't know what goes on behind the closed doors. So that was something I really haven't thought of. And another thing Colonel Kurtz said is that Mariyln Manson says edgy stuff. Now, this was one where I wasn't really sold on it. Yes, Mariyln Manson has said a lot of crazy stuff, but you can tell Mariyln Manson is very educated. In his interviews, he's very articulate. He knows what to say. And I believe in one interview, he said that he used to be a reporter, right? And in that interview, if I can find the interview, I'll link it below. Great Mariyln Manson interview. It was from like 5 years ago when he was promoting his Heaven Upside Down album. But Mariyln Manson said that he knew how to talk, where he was a reporter, right? So he knew how to talk in ways that couldn't be taken out of context, or people couldn't just like take like a small chunk of what he said and be like, look what Mariyln Manson said, which I thought was really interesting, where that he talked about it. Loud car. Yeah, Mariyln Manson says edgy stuff, but at the same time, he's very articulate. He knows what to say and how not to have it taken out of context. When Mariyln Manson joked to Phoebe Bridgers about his rape room, I'm not sure if that was really a joke. I mean, it's like what Colonel Kurtz said. Mariyln Manson is kind of like an edgy. He has like an edgy, freakish persona. So when you meet Mariyln Manson, you expect him to give you those kind of creepy and darker answers, right? And I believe that Mariyln Manson, I think that he knew what he was saying. Welcome to my rape room. Like, even if you're joking or you're playing a character, it's just not something you say to a 16-year-old girl. And I'm not really sold on that one. I do like how she brought that up. I really haven't thought of that. For me personally, I always saw Mariyln Manson was the guy on the stage, and Brian Hugh Warner was the guy like in the interviews, and like when you talk to him, he's just being himself. But maybe it's more complicated than I thought, and it kind of plays into the theory that I thought that Brian Hugh Warner and Mariyln Manson are like two different people, or Mariyln Manson is like a darker version of Brian Hugh Warner. Now, another thing I really liked that Colonel Kurtz said is, not everyone is innocent, and a lot of artists have dirt, which I 100% agree. Even in like the rock world, you have Jimmy Page, who dated a 14-year-old girl. The guitar player from Led Zeppelin. Love Jimmy Page. He is my second favorite guitar player of all time, but I can't get behind him dating a 14-year-old girl. And I think this is confirmed too. I don't think these are just rumors. I think there's like actual like evidence that he dated a 14-year-old girl. So that's not a rumor. Axl Rose was very abusive to Guns N' Roses. He was very abusive to Duff, Izzy, Slash, and that's why most of them left in the 2000s, because they just didn't want to be bullied by Axl Rose anymore. Lou Reed has been heavily I said heavenly. Heavily accused of being an abuser, I guess, for lack of better words. His wife has said that he's a monster, and like I said, I love Lou Reed, I love Axl Rose, love Jimmy Page, but yeah, these guys, all have some dirt on them, and there's more. But I feel like people are going more after Mariyln Manson because he's just kind of like that freak, and that like he scared everyone in the 90s and 2000s of being like the Antichrist and being like the final boss of like the Bible or whatever. So really interesting point that she brought up. Colonel Kurtz had a lot of interesting points. I actually had a lot of fun taking notes on this. And I also love how she criticized feminism, where she talked about feminism. The old was about empowering women, but it seems like 21st century feminism is more based on just like being the victim and just like hating men and just being like, oh, we're victims of men and stuff. And she had this really interesting quote where she says, you can't have 100% freedom and 100% safety at the same time. And I really like that quote. But yeah, great video. Those were just the notes I took. Those are like the really interesting things. I haven't really been sold 100%. But like I said, this seems like more like a prologue to her parts 2 and 3, where she actually brings up evidence and a lot more stuff. She was really light on like the evidence, and she just focused more on like cancel culture and all that different stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see parts 2 and 3. I'm sorry it took me a while to get to watch them. I've been wanting to watch them for weeks, but you know, midterms came up. I had a bunch of stuff to do, so I set some time aside. I watched the video like 2 or 3 times just to make sure I got everything I wanted to say, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope she proves me wrong. I hope she convinces me. I hope Mariyln Manson's innocent, but if he's not, you know, it is what it is. I hope the victims get justice, and I hope he gets punished for it. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on this. Look out for parts 2 and 3 about Colonel Kurtz, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.